YouTube, how's it going? The GOAT House is back, and Pro Bowl voting for 2019-2020 NFL season is open. It is a little early, still a lot of football left to be played, but I thought, why not? Let me get in here. Let me jump right in, give you guys my votes here. Right before the poll closes, maybe I can revote, and we can make a video out of that. But I thought, why not? Pretty cool. Something to do here for the channel. And right before we get started, 40K, that's our subscriber goal, so please help us get there by 2020. We really would appreciate it. Full NFL content here. Videos like these, we got recaps, power rankings, predictions, score predictions, plenty more, and even more on the Patreon, patreon.com/GoatHouse. Playoff predictions, score predictions, 2020 NFL mock drafts, all of that part of one package deal and update every single week. Click the link in the description. Really appreciate you if you can subscribe. Click the like button. Check out that Patreon link there. But to the Pro Bowl voting, like I said, we can revote when the time is right. But right here, the day it opens, I got you guys covered. And I've ran through this before, and I don't really agree with how this is all set up. We'll get what I'm talking about when we get there. I'll cover that. But for the six, you can see six quarterbacks. We can sort this to help us out here. Probably by touchdowns, but I already have my selections ready to go. Obviously, you got two front runners for, let's scroll up a little bit there. I was missing some guys for the MVP. Right now, at this moment, things will change. It's Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson. Get those guys in there. And then there's the obvious choices of Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers. And that leaves us with four. Two more to vote for. It gets somewhat tough. Honestly, not really. I like Patrick Mahomes still, even though he missed a few games. I think he's the best player, most exciting player in football based off this year. You can't really say that right now. Like I said, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson. And one more left, and I am still going to go with Big Tom. I got to go with Tom Brady here. Maybe his worst offensive line of all time, if you think about it. And he's still playing very well. They only have one loss because how smart he is mainly. So he's deserving to be in there because of that. I will say I'm impressed with – I did do a quarterback rankings video somewhat recently, last week actually, and I did other positions, top five each of the other positions ranking video in another video, so you can check that out. But other guys I think highly of. I'm starting to like Dak more and more after that Vikings game, even though he came up a little short. I was very impressed with him in that game. Stafford and Kirk Cousins are both of them having their best year ever, honestly, so far. We can sit here and list guys all day, but those are the guys I really didn't consider anybody else, honestly. Maybe Dak, actually. I'm really starting to like him a little more, more and more after each game. Does need to take care of the ball a little bit, but it's pretty straightforward on the six I decided on for quarterbacks. We're moving on to running backs. We can sort by yards here. Most of the guys should be at the top. And there's obvious ones right off the bat. The first two, Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey, have been, in that MVP conversation. Honestly, it's most likely always going to go to a quarterback these days, but those two guys are right up there and clearly the top two running backs in football right now. Then next up, I really like what Aaron Jones is doing. I really like what he's doing. He's a touchdown machine. He's really getting involved more and more, catching the ball, not even out of the backfield, down the field too. So I really like what he's doing. Leonard Fournette, love what he's doing as well because people were starting to doubt him, and I knew this guy had talent all along. So, it's good to see him going in that Jags offense there, kind of keeping that offense alive. And then Josh Jacobs, really, I got to vote for him too because he's turned around this Raiders offense. You can kind of make some comparisons with Dalvin Cook, not at all in the style of running, but what each of them are doing for their team. You see a passing game for both teams that just really was inconsistent. It was pretty open at times in the past, but then sometimes just shut, just completely closed, not good. And then you see them get a really good running game because the two really good running backs at the same time, both of them improve the offensive line as well, so you can't not credit that. But it really opened things up for the passing game, those quarterbacks. So that's why those two guys have been big time. Guys like McCaffrey really carrying the team. There's other good players on the team on the Panthers that have won them games, but McCaffrey's really got the team on his back most of the time. And then Fournette, like I mentioned, really turning things around. In that 6th spot, this is where it gets really tough. That's why we got to come back to voting, because I'm gonna sit here and say I'm gonna predict that Zeke starts to pick it up, but I haven't been thrilled with him. The Vikings game was rough, actually lowest yards per carry ever, which is wild. The 3 weeks before that, he started to pick it up a little bit early in the year. It's a lot of straightforward running. It's almost like he lost a step on, in terms of how he moves laterally. So what this came down to, right now here heading into week 11, it's a battle. You do got to shout out guys like Mark Ingram too, and Chris Carson's fumbling a little too much for my liking. It's between Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry. Loved Derrick Henry last year. I thought he'd be a top-tier back this year. Started off a little slow. Now he's really getting going. He's got 10 touchdowns. And that's what makes this thing interesting, because Chubb has over 1,000 yards. Derrick Henry has 10 touchdowns. He does have 3 fumbles. It's tough. It's tough. Derrick Henry, I thought be running a little better right now. I thought he could be at the top of the league in rushing yards right now, which he's starting to pick it up. I'm going to go with Nick Chubb, because Baker Mayfield's been playing pretty bad this year, honestly, a lot due to the offensive line, but Nick Chubb has to deal with the offensive line as well, and he's carrying that offense, and really the only reason that offense has wins right now. So I'm going to go with Nick Chubb for now. Again, we can revisit. Big Derrick Henry fan. Zeke will pick it up. Mark Ingram's a key part, helping Lamar Jackson. And Marlon Mack, I'm a big fan of him too, another one of my draft hits. So those are some guys. And I'm a big Alvin Kamara fan, another huge draft hit, maybe my biggest draft hit of all time. So I think he'll start to pick it up too, but missed some games, a little slow there. We're on to the receivers. For the receivers, we can sort by yards again, but I have made up my mind for the receivers already. And we got to go right off the bat, obviously, Michael Thomas. Easy choice there. And I love Tyler Lockett this year. Easy choice to go Tyler Lockett. He's been big time. Doug Baldwin this year. Lockett's got to step up. He does. He steps up. The Monday night game, he got hurt, actually. Hopefully he's okay. Amari Cooper is on another level this year, route running. We see the toe tap madness. It's just unreal. So I got to go Amari Cooper. And I'm actually going to go with the two Bucks. I'm going to go with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin upped his route running ability, knows how to get open. See him put size on over the last few years too, and the ability to be able to hang on to some speed and get better in the separation department is pretty darn impressive. So two Bucks making the Pro Bowl for the Goat House here, and we got a few more options. I like what Cooper Kupp's doing this year. Yak, he's the Yak King so far. Not his best game against the Steelers as last week, but still what he's doing feels like he's carrying that offense a lot, because Gurley is a big step down. The offensive line is a giant step down. Goff's a huge step down. Robert Woods is disappointing from last year. Brandon Cooks has been hurt, so Cooper Kupp's been carrying that team. It's a pretty easy vote for me there. I love me some Kenny Golladay, touchdown machine, jump ball machine, contested catch expert. And he's got a little wiggle to him, too. He's got a little wiggle for a guy like that. So super impressive. Kenny Golladay, big reason for Stafford having a big year here. Very impressive young receiver. And then at 8th spot, we see why a lot of the big stars, the big names make the Pro Bowl every year. It's because, you go ahead and just vote for those big names right now. And I don't want to, it's tough not voting for guys like DeAndre Hopkins, who I think in general is the best receiver in football, and right there with him is Julio Jones. And then it's tough not voting for guys like Keenan Allen and Stephon Diggs. But I am actually going to go a little outside the box here, a guy that probably won't get enough votes. I'm going to go with Courtland Sutton. You look at what this guy's offense is, who his quarterbacks are and were and are, and what he's able to do here in his second year. Super impressive. He's kind of on the similar, type player maybe is Kenny Golladay too. I like that style player that it's still able to, same with Mike Evans. Those guys are still able to be good in today's NFL. It's kind of going away from those guys. It's kind of going towards, the Lockett type. So, and the Cooper Kupp type. So he's been super impressive. He won't get enough votes. I'm going to give him a vote though. Courtland Sutton, super impressive. He's on his way to a top tier receiver in the NFL. For fullbacks, I went, underrated one right off the bat. C.J. Ham is responsible for, a big part of Dalvin Cook's success. If you watch this guy, I mean, he is all over the place taking out blocks. So I went with him, and I mean, it's tough. I mean, even though Juszczyk missed some games, he is the best fullback in football. It's tough not to go him. So that was my 2 fullbacks there for tight ends. This was tough too because you only get 4 votes. You only get 4 here. And you go with the obvious one. You go with Kelsey and George Kittle, the 2 best in football. I am blown away and am very impressed by Hooper this year. Austin Hooper's been very impressive. Recent injury, hopefully he's okay. And the 4th spot is a battle between 2 guys for me, and that's Darren Waller and Mark Andrews, kind of back and forth. This last game, I guess, kind of broke that tiebreaker and put Mark Andrews over the top for me. So I went Andrews. Waller is, like I explained with Josh Jacobs with the Raiders, he helped the passing game open up a little bit, and Darren Waller's part of that passing game, why it's so much better. So it's hard not to go him. At the end of the day, yeah, Ertz is a top 3 tight end. Had some drops. I would like to see him get back this year, but that's kind of the difference when it's so tight with some of these guys. So that's the 4 I went with. Now we're on to tackles. Tackles pretty tough here. I mean, no specific order here. I did vote for Bakhtiari. I did vote for Trent Brown. Trent Brown's been, the question of will he be the same or even close to the same after leaving the Patriots, because we've seen it so many times where a guy just falls off, and he's been a huge part of that Raiders' success. So I vote for Trent Brown there, and we can go down the list here. Who else that got votes from me? I mean, we got some guys in here that haven't even played, a lot of snaps this year. But trying to find the guys I voted for. I voted for Ryan Ramczyk. We voted for, he's been a big part of the Saints offensive line. Mitchell Schwartz has been unreal. You got to give Tyron Smith a vote for sure. And where's my number 1 tackle in football? I think Ronnie Stanley is the best tackle in football right now. What he's doing in that gap scheme, too, a very hard scheme to play in with Lamar Jackson. It's been super impressive. I think he's the best tackle in football for this year. So those are my 6 votes. It's tough not going some other guys, big name guys too, I guess. Marcus Cannon, I'm a big fan of him. But that was my 6 guys I went with. And then for guard, no specific order. You got Brandon Brooks right off the top, an insane year, like always. And then you go down the list, trying to find my 6 guys that I chose here. Richie Incognito has been lights out this year, suspended a few games, but then came back, and he's been lights out for them. Super impressive. Zach Martin, of course, you got to vote for him. And then next up would be, I have a wild card in here. I don't want to click them yet. I have a wild card we're going to save for the end here. Marshall Yanda, I think that Ravens offensive line's been absolutely, fantastic. I passed Quentin Nelson. That was an obvious one. Where'd he go? There's Quentin Nelson. So we got one more. Thinking outside the box here. A free agent signing that I talked about at the time that was a sleeper one and a very good one, I thought. And I thought he lasted way too long in free agency. I think Quentin Spain has been a hell of a pickup for the Bills. Super impressive. He's not going to make the Pro Bowl. I'm going to give him a vote right here, though. And we're on to centers. We get 4 center votes. Travis Frederick, obvious choice here. Jason Kelsey, another obvious choice. And then it's a toss-up. I'm not really thrilled with a lot of center play. Some guys are great in run blocking, but then terrible in pass blocking. Some pretty good in pass protection, but not so good in run blocking. So it's kind of back and forth with some guys. A guy that's on his way to being a top center, who has been, I think, a big reason why their offensive line has stepped up this season compared to last season, is Frank Ragnow. I'm going to vote for him. Super impressive. And we're going to go with the rookie here. I love the pick at the time, and Eric McCoy has been lights out for the Saints this year. There was thought that Easton could start for them, but there was no doubt that McCoy would be the guy, and he's been pretty darn impressive, pretty balanced, both run blocking, pass blocking for me. So that's why I went with that as my 4 defensive ends. Now, the defense is where it's flawed in terms of the Pro Bowl voting, big time, because what you see here and what everybody will go for here is the pass rushers, 4-3 defensive ends. But you have guys in here that are not, they're defensive ends, but they're not 4-3 defensive ends. They're more interior guys. So That's rough to have those guys together. And then you look at the outside linebackers. You got the 3-4 outside linebackers that are pass rushers, which everyone will vote for. And then you have the 4-3 stand-up outside linebackers that will be going unnoticed. So that's kind of the flaw of the Pro Bowl voting. It's been the same exact, Pro Bowl voting we had for years. But defensive ends, they're mainly 4-3 defensive ends. There's two no-brainers right off the bat. Myles Garrett leading the way in sacks for these guys for a reason, because he gets after the quarterback. He's a freak athlete. And then Danielle Hunter leads the NFL in quarterback pressures and has 8.5 sacks to go along with it. 144 tackles too. Pretty impressive. I'm not a huge stats guy, but pressures is something that's not going to pop up in your box score. That's where many guys, but one being Danielle Hunter, will kind of go unnoticed, but are big time. But it gets real tough. It gets real tough here. You got to go Cameron Jordan, having as good as a year as ever. You got to go Nick Bosa, has been a game changer for the Niners. Calais Campbell is more of an inside guy. They got Josh Allen playing outside of him, but he's definitely getting a vote. Dominant player. Every year he's dominant. So we're at 5, and we only have one left. You see all these good players we have with only one more spot left. It's ridiculous. You got Joey Bosa, who has the most sacks out of the remaining players I have. Justin Houston's right there. Brandon Graham's got a bunch of pressures, kind of goes unnoticed. Everson Griffin and Brandon Graham basically in the same area because they're towards the top of the NFL in pressure. Looking at their sacks, it's good, but you won't really see how many pressures they get. They both have 6, and look at the tackles too, 33, 32. D Ford's been a game changer for the Niners. Derek Wolfe is, he's a 3-4 end. He's been picking it up. DeMarcus Lawrence is big time. And everyone knows how I like Melvin Ingram so much. Joey Bosa is going to get the votes. I think Melvin Ingram is more important to that Chargers team and more responsible for wins. I'm going to get Melvin Ingram in there. But people will vote for Bosa. It's hard not to vote for Bosa. He'd be the next one. It's really hard not to vote for him. But Melvin Ingram is just too damn important to not vote for him. Those are my 6 defensive ends. But the guys I mentioned, it's tough not going. It's tough not going with any of those guys, and Clowney's going to pick it up. When we revisit this and revote before it closes, I very well could be picking Clowney because I love that trade, and I said at the time that maybe it'll take some time, maybe he'll get going, and we see that. We're starting to see that now, what he's bringing to the table for the Seahawks defense there. Defensive tackles, some obvious ones, obviously. Let's see, we probably can find most of them, yeah. Aaron Donald's an obvious one. Cameron Hayward's an obvious one. Dominant interior D lineman, but just involved in the run and pass game equally, at a high level there. And I love me some DeForest Buckner, dominant player for years now. And there's going to be some snubs here, some really good players that just missed out pretty much. Grady Jarrett is by far the best player on that Falcons defense, and really, the main guy. He's the guy. There's games where the Falcons defense looks like the worst in football, but Grady Jarrett is still playing at a high level. Chris Jones missed some games, but you see how important he is to that Chiefs defense. He's the guy that makes that defense take that next step up. He's a dominant player, and he already could be a star, but he's definitely a future star. And we only have one more vote, and it's really, really tough. To pick here. But I guess we got to go with the sack leader out of these guys. Armstead having 7 sacks and 2 forced fumbles is ridiculous. It's tough leading Jordan Phillips out. He's right there with Armstead. It's tough leading guys like Jonathan Allen out. Vernon Butler's having, he was kind of labeled a bust, and now they switched the defense, and it helps him out a bunch, and he's really stepping up this year. It's hard to leave guys like that out. But those are the guys I went with. We'll see if those are the guys I go with the next time we come to this. Inside linebackers, and this is an easy one, but at the same time, there's a bunch of guys that you say, damn, I want to give that guy a vote, But I think Eric Kendricks is the best middle linebacker in football this year, and then you got the obvious guys that are just damn good inside linebackers every single year, and they are again this year, and they're right in a row here. Bobby Wagner, Luke Kuechly, and Jalen Smith. You only get 4 votes. Those are my votes. I don't have to think too much about it, but like I said, at the same time, you wish you can give a vote for Corey Littleton. A damn good linebacker, kind of came out of nowhere playing at a high level. The 2 Titans guys, Rashaan Evans and Jayon Brown. Jayon Brown is a stud. Tough not voting for those guys. Shaq Thompson's really stepping up in the new defense for the Panthers as well. And Tremaine Edmonds, love me some Tremaine Edmonds. He feels like he deserves a vote too. It's tough picking. It's tough picking. A.J. Johnson's playing very well too. Love me some Patrick Owosu. lights out, and I mean, it's tough not giving those guys votes. There's so many good inside linebackers, you only get 4, but I'm confident with those 4. I feel good about those 4. Outside linebackers, I kind of explained the problem before with this because there's pass rush. You see the pass rush outside linebackers, and then you have it's like the 4-3 outside linebackers. So, I mean, it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough, but I mean, right off the bat, I mean, most of you probably know how much I love Zadarius Smith by now. My pick for defensive MVP so far right now. I mean, the guy makes the team, the guy makes the rest of his teammates a lot better. A lot better. And he plays an edge rusher. He plays inside, and he's going to get pressure equally throughout both. Towards the top of the NFL in pressures, and on top of that, he has 8.5 sacks. The guy's everywhere. So I'm going to go with him. That's a no-brainer. No-brainer is Shaq Barrett, who is the current sack leader, tied with Chandler Jones. And they're both not – it's not all about the sacks. It's not all about the sacks and the stats with me. But you see they're making plays. They're playmakers, too, on top of it. If you watch them, they're getting their pressures. They're making plays. They definitely deserve votes. So I definitely am going with those guys as well. TJ Watt, really picking it up lately. He's a game changer for the Steelers. So I'm going to go with him. And we have to, look at Preston Smith. You look at the 2 Packers. Look at that duo right there. And both free agent signings within this free agency. And he's actually got 10 sacks. Super impressive. I think Zadarius Smith is the much better pass rusher. You got to give Preston Smith credit for his sacks, but I think a lot of players on the Packers are getting sacks that I'm giving credit to Zadarius Smith when I watch, and break it down. So Preston Smith very close to getting a vote from me though. But I gotta give some love to the stand-up guy, the non-pass rushers. Jamie Collins is not an edge rusher, but he's still got 6 sacks. He's still making plays all over the field, doing his thing for the Patriots. And then another guy here is, you see all these guys. You see all these guys that are just your typical 4-3 outside linebackers that probably aren't going to make it because the way they have it set up. You got, I love me some Matt Milano. He's very good. Anthony Barr, but a guy that I really love his game this year. It seems like he's flying around the field, whether it's downfield, in the backfield, making stuffs, is Demario Davis. So I got to give him some love here and give him the final vote. But you see how good linebackers are in today's NFL. You see it. And there's so many that you can pick that we just had to pass up. We don't even get Khalil Mack in there. He's been a little disappointing lately. I think he's responsible for some of their wins, and I do think he's the best defensive player in football if you start a fresh year. But it's tough to vote for him in this situation right now. It's real tough. Then we're on to corners. Corners are pretty tough too. There's some obvious ones at the top. How do I sort this? I don't really go by certain stat here. But there might be some at the top. But you guys saw my ranking, so you guys see who I like at the top. Stephon Gilmore is number 1 corner in football to me. I love Marlon Humphrey. He'd be my number 2 corner in football. And then no order, Richard Sherman needs a vote. And I think the best slot corner in football, Logan Ryan, needs a vote for sure. We get 8, so we got 4 more. Tre'Davious White has been lights out this year, so he gets a vote. We get 3 more here. And, we're missing somebody that has been big time this year. It's Marshawn Lattimore, big step up this year. Really impressed with him. And then something I noticed when I went through this the first time is I would give both 49ers corners a vote. I am blown away by Emmanuel Mosley and his game, and he's not even on here. They got Witherspoon, who I was a big fan of pre-draft, but he's hurt this year for the most part. So they have him in here. I don't see Emmanuel Mosley the first time I ran through this, and yeah, that is correct. I love his game this year. He's been locked down. Sherman's been covering the number 1, so I guess that would be the reason. But still, he's playing his game. I would actually give him a vote. So that's, that's something there. Marcus Peters starting to pick it up a lot with the Ravens. He did give up a lot when he was in the Rams. The 2 Packers, once again, we're talking about 2 Packers. I like Alexander and King's, I think, on the underrated side. He's been playing pretty good this year. And then you got, you scroll. I gotta give Bradbury a vote. He's been super impressive this year. Been locked down for the Panthers. Really came out of nowhere. Kind of just been a average to below average corner the past few years. Really stepping up big time. So it's pretty, like I said, I would give Emmanuel Mosley a vote. So he would be the 6. But it's pretty much between Chris Harris and Jair Alexander, I think, for me. Alexander's a pass deflection machine. We'll make that the tiebreaker. He's been flying around the field. Good young corner there. So we'll go with that. That'll be my 8. They need to add Emmanuel Mosley to that list, though. Safeties, they split them up strong and free, which makes things interesting. Jamal Adams right at the top. We're going to give Jamal Adams a vote. And then I like the free safeties a little better. In terms of if we start fresh, who I think in general the best safety in football, I think it's Harrison Smith, what he does, what he brings to the table. I think he, off year, compared to his elite years. It's an off year for him, but it's just because he's not elite. So I'm not trying to rip the guy, but I got to give Jordan Poyer the vote. I really love his game. It's a do-it-all safety. So that'll be my 2 strong safety votes. And in free safeties, where there's going to be snubs because you only get 2 votes, and there's going to be some really good guys that we leave off. And I got to go who I think has been the most impressive safety in football this year. It's been Justin Simmons to me of the Denver Broncos. And, McCourty being that leader of that Patriots defense, the best secondary in football, and just flying around the field, the range he has, and the plays he's making when it's not even in his, it's not even his job, So you got to go McCourty, but it's so tough. We got top-tier safeties in the NFL here. We got Kevin Byard. We got Minkah Fitzpatrick who's balling. Like, those 2 guys, like, I want to give a vote to both of them so bad, but you only get 2, and those are the 2 I went with. I'm sure there's more here, too, that I'm not talking about. Even Poyer's teammate, Micah Hyde's been big time. Earl Thomas, Jimmy Ward, loved his game so far. Marcus Williams. There's a long list of guys here that probably are deserving of votes. We're going to kicker. I am going with Harrison Butker, and I went with Justin Tucker, of course. Return specialists. Return specialists here. We're going to go with the best kick returner and best punt returner, in my opinion. Cordero Patterson's the best kick returner. And punt returner, we went with the new guy here, Deontay Harris. Been pretty impressive for the Saints. We're going to go with him. Punter, it seems like every year pretty much Brett Kern is the best punter in football. So that's what we're going to go with. There he is. And I went with Morstead here. Morstead's the guy. That's the guy. And then special teamers. No brainer here. No brainer. You go Matthew Slater. And then we go my guy Drew Tranquill. Maybe he gets a vote. Just maybe, because I'm a big Notre Dame fan. I don't know. But he did have a big block punt the other game too. So that was big time. So that's the 2 guys I went with there. Submit the ballots. That's what I got for you. Again, we can revisit right before it closes. I got to figure out that date. Maybe the day before it closes, we'll do it again just to see what's changed. That'd be pretty interesting. I do MVP ladder videos every single week, so it's a top 5 in offensive MVP, defense MVP, rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. So it's kind of along the same lines, similar lines here. You see what players I think at the top, and we do players of the week within that video for every single week. So if you like this, maybe you'll like that video. And we have recaps, power rankings, all kinds of predictions. We're trying to get to that 40K subscriber goal, so please help us get there by subscribing. We'd really appreciate that. And then that Patreon link in the description has plenty more NFL content, so check it out. Thanks, everyone, for watching. That's going to do it for this one. Goodbye.